Some sad news to report. The much-beloved Hollywood and Broadway actor John Mahoney died on Sunday after a years-long battle with throat cancer. He was 77. Mahoney appeared in dozens of movies. He was a two-time Emmy nominee for his role on Frasier. He won a 1986 Tony Award for The House of Blue Leaves, which I saw him in. On television, Mahoney is probably best known as Martin Crane, the cranky blue-collar dad opposite his squabbling sons, Kelsey Grammer's Frasier and David Hyde Pierce's Niles. But Mahoney was a British native who made Chicago his home, and then he never left. Gary Sinise and John Malkovich invited the then 37-year-old aspiring actor to join their Steppenwolf theater company. Mahoney claimed that around that time, his life was transformed after visiting a Catholic church in Chicago. He made it a habit after that encounter to pray to the Holy Spirit and offer each of his performances up as an act of praise. He was a wonderful actor, and after his success in TV, he returned to Chicago to do what he loved, theater. He would act in more than 30 productions at Steppenwolf and the Irish Repertory Theater in Chicago. A great lesson to do what you love and that it's never too late to start. May John Mahoney rest in peace. There's a brand new biblical epic opening next week, Samson. It tells the story of what could arguably be the first superhero. Samson is based on the story of the champion chosen by God to save Israel from the Philistines. Pure Flix produced the film, and it's a story about faith, heroism, betrayal, and a really bad haircut. I sat down earlier with the star of Samson, Taylor James. We talked about how he prepared for the role and how he and his faith were changed by the experience. Take a look. Taylor, tell me, why now? Why does this moment in time demand a filmic treatment of Samson, this story and this character?
Firstly, it's been about 40, 50 years since it's been on the big screen. And the big screen in those days was still a big screen, but it just wasn't at the reach that cinema has nowadays. Across the world, so every single town has 1, 2, 3, 4 movie theaters. So the reach is phenomenal. Plus, it's an epic story, which demands an epic screen for it to be shown on. Some things you can get away with a small TV or not go to the cinema, but for this, it has to be. Plus, the superhero is so prevalent right now. Everyone's talking about the superhero, this, that, and it's such a inspirational thing for us to connect with as humans. And I don't think that people see Samson as someone who was inspirational or a superhero. So when they're reminded, he was the first superhero.
Yeah, he is the first superhero.
He is inspirational. He was just like you and I. He was young, he was impulsive, he made foolish decisions, and it was his arc that he had to go through that connects more on a human to character than necessarily you would with Batman or with Superman or with Spider-Man. You know, the demons that Samson faced are within his mind and within his body, which we can all relate to. He had to carry the gates. We have to carry our other burdens. You know, he had to fight 1,000 Philistines.
With a jawbone.
Yeah, I have to fight something else in my life. So those personal connections that Samson has with humans is so important, and that's why it needs to be up on the screen.
Like all of us, you first encountered Samson at a Sunday school lesson, and you know, we saw the little cartoons and things here and there. How did your idea of him change when you encountered this script and then began the process of creating this character?
It was the discovery of his reluctancy. That was the one thing that changed it all for me. Samson, in my mind, was a flawed hero. And that was something I wanted to know. Why was he flawed? Why was he so reluctant? He had everything. That's what, for me, it was he had everything, and he was foolish, and he let it all fall away, and he was like the boy who cried wolf, and he never did what he should have done. And then he had a moment of redemption at the end. And as Taylor, being young, was like, well, you know, kind of made his mistakes. I don't think he's deserved of any rewards. And then as I've gone through my own life, and I've realized that fear prevents us as humans so much, and we are reluctant to do things that we know is ultimately right. Suddenly, Taylor's thinking the same as Samson. You're thinking the same as Samson. And so that's how my idea changed, was when I really saw him on an emotional level.
Yeah, and here he really is a guy just wanting peace. He just wants a little
Right.
peace and quiet, a nice girl in the countryside, and that's the end of it. He wants to get
Correct.
married and go away and be
Yeah.
quiet. And that's not what he's called to do.
No.
You all have also taken some liberties here. You've layered this story. It's not quite what one might expect. When you come to this, everybody's looking for Samson and Delilah. That's a piece of this story,
Yep.
but it's not all of it.
Correct. So we have artistic license as artists. We get to take a story which you can read in 15, 20 minutes,
Yeah.
and we have to fill 2 hours. We don't have to fill 2 hours, we choose to fill 2 hours. And that way we get to see the heart of all the characters. We get to dive into the world deeper. We get to really immerse the audience in the countryside where it was shot, and the action. We get to really bring it to life.
You are broadening it and layering it and enlarging it beyond Samson and Delilah.
Correct, yes. Samson and Delilah, if you were to break down maybe 5 or 6 points within the judges, Delilah would be one of them. My brother was like, oh, it's about the pillars.
Yeah.
My friend was like, yeah, oh, the 1,000-man fight. And
Kills everybody with the jawbone of the,
yeah, you know,
of the ass.
and so people have their own moments. It's when you dive back into the scripture that you realize there were so many moments. So yes, we have woven a thread through as many moments as we can to keep authentic to the story, but we have had to embellish on certain things. And a modern audience wants to have a bit of romance. They want to have that love that they can connect with. Otherwise, it's too difficult for them to have empathy or to fall into a world that they have no relationship with.
Yeah.
So the Delilah story is a huge part
Yeah, it's
of
the heart of the story, but it's not
Yeah.
the whole story.
No.
I want to give you a little taste of this. This is a little trailer of Samson. Watch.
Remember their prophecy. Samson, chosen by the living God to be his hand of vengeance.
My name is Samson, and you will face the wrath of God.
There are a lot of action scenes in this movie, Taylor. This is something, obviously, you've trained, you're a man of the theater. You've done a lot of work. I know you're not a stranger to the gym.
Correct.
How did this change the way you approached keeping fit, working out? I read somewhere you adopted a sort of new regimen where you were fasting
Yes.
and doing
Yeah.
workouts.
So a handful of years ago, I had a vision, and it was to grow my hair. And it was to maintain a physical disposition that was strong, was powerful. And in England, sadly, we sometimes shy away from the physically strong, the healthy, the American kind of
Yes,
look.
yeah, that's
And
right.
you know,
A macho.
it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's just maybe an artist's kind of view on
Yeah.
it. But I had this vision, and I decided to go
What do you
fully
mean
for
vision?
that.
What was it? Was it a dream? Was it an idea? What do you mean you have a vision?
I had just finished filming a film over in Romania, and I just was in my trailer one day, and I was listening to scores, soundtracks like I normally do, and it just came to me, and I thought, I have to grow my hair. For 2 years, I'm going to grow my hair, and I'm not going to cut it for 2 years. And I went to see my hairdresser when I got back, and I said, how long will it take to get hair like that guy over there? She said, oh, I wouldn't see you for 2 years. And when she said 2 years, I knew that it was right. And then I was unashamedly confident about training and celebrating health and fitness and stature. And I decided to fall more into research of diet and different training methods. And the one thing that stood out was fasting for me. I was following a very Paleolithic and ketogenic lifestyle with the diet, but the fasting thing was this new thing for me. So I fast every day between 18, 21, 23 hours. And then I go to the gym and do the hard work.
With nothing on your
With
stomach?
nothing in me. And then I'm allowed to feast.
Oh my gosh, I'd
Yeah.
fall over like a...
Well, you think you would, but your body it's kind of like a hybrid engine. It goes from being a petrol driven, which is immediate fuel like carbohydrates and what's in your body, breakfast, to a battery engine.
It's working for you.
Which is the
I
fat
live in
burning.
New Orleans, where we
Yeah, but-
live to eat, Taylor. We
Yeah.
live to eat. You eat to live. It's a different mindset, but
But
one
there's
day-
something wonderful about
one
the
day-
fasting. You starve your ego to feed your soul.
Ah, I like that.
And that was the connection. And
And the hair. The hair was already in place.
the hair
when they
was
called you.
growing, the fasting was coming. So when Samson arrived on the table, The physical preparation was not difficult. It was just connecting.
To the character.
Yeah. So I connected emotionally, and then on a physical level, I made a decision. It's very simple. In the story, Samson's people are starving. So why could we ever see Samson eat? It's not allowed for me. Secondly, if Samson was always eating, he would be an NFL player.
Enormous,
So
yeah.
I didn't want to be like that. So it ticked that box straight away. And then the second one was it's too obvious. If Samson's an NFL player, he gets his strength from being an NFL player.
He's a huge guy,
If he's as lean as he possibly can be, which I was, I couldn't have much more body fat. People think he got his strength from God. He had to. So
Interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting internal image of this character, and you see it on the screen. It's very different.
Don't get me
from what
wrong.
I've
I
seen
know
before.
I'm very strong, and I know I'm a big guy, and on screen I'm physically very powerful, especially in the action sequences that you see. But it's a very lean disposition, and I think it's what Samson would have been.
Did it change you at all? Your understanding of faith, the power of faith in a life, playing this character?
Two things it did was, one was it reminded me to surround yourself with positive, happy, inspirational people who are non-judgmental, and with a lot of religion, it's kind of a prerequisite. Their morals are good, their ethics are good. It's a wonderful entity to be around. So surrounding yourself with people like that doesn't make it feel like work, and it was an absolute blessing and a joy. And what the story reminded me was, no matter how many times we fail, no matter how many times we mess up or are reluctant, God's love is there for us at the end. So on a spiritual level, and connecting with, religion, that was a great discovery.
Tell me about the surrounding cast. We saw some of them there in the trailer. What was it like to work with some of these people? I mean, people you grew up watching on screen.
Big smiles on the face, because it was wonderful. Rutger Hauer is just, he's, I described him the other day as mercurial. He is cheeky, he is just, he's a wild card.
Yeah.
As an actor, he gives one or two good takes, and then the third one just, it's like, where did this come from? And he just throws you something completely different. So I learned from him as a performer, and I learned from him as a person. Lindsay is, I think, the perfect mother on screen, and she's the perfect mother in life. And she's just the perfect woman. She's just so gentle.
Well, she's a bionic woman, so that's how
yeah,
it
so
works.
maybe she's half woman, half unnatural. Yeah, she was amazing. And then there's Billy and Jackson and Caitlin, which were equally wonderful to be around. But I did strike a chord with the first two on a level that I'm so grateful for.
We
Yeah.
wish you the best. The movie is Samson. What a pleasure to meet you, and I hope to see
Absolute
you
pleasure to
on the
meet you.
stage sometime. What are you doing next? Are you working on anything?
My agent has something lined up for me, which is great. It's very action-driven, so I'm.
Is it a film or
It's
on
a
the
film,
West End?
yes.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking
And then
on
hopefully in a
stage.
couple of years' time, I can reconnect with directors like Branagh or Michael Grandis, Jamie Lloyd, and do something on Broadway.
Oh, well, we will definitely be looking for you.
That would
then.
be great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
for being here. Pleasure.
Stories. Stories of possibilities. And hope. Hope is rebellion. Samson, of the tribe of Dan, chosen by the living God, gifted with his power to be his hand of vengeance. If you wanted a fight, you should have brought more men.
Samson, starring Taylor James, Lindsay Wagner, and Rutger Hauer, opens in theaters everywhere on Friday, February 16th.